Welcome to Hard Count Sports Podcast, Episode 6. I'm Zach Humphrey, joined as ever by my partner in crime, Ross Kennedy. Ross, how are you doing, my man?
Yes, Zach, not too badly. Looking forward to getting Episode 6 underway.
Oh, yes.
We've had so many good episodes in the past. We've interviewed so many guys from so many different places. And today we've got another guy in segment 2 out of San Diego State. But most importantly, with the Buffalo Bills, an NFL player, the first NFL player on the podcast. And I'm looking forward to that, Zach. I'm sure you are too.
Oh yes, Ross. It's going to be a fantastic conversation, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from Tariq, a wee bit more about what it's like to be part of the Buffalo Bills and to be part of an NFL franchise as well. What it's like playing in the OTAs and learning off new guys and, being in a new system. So that'll be a really good conversation. We can't wait to get into that as well. And then to finish off this evening, we'll be also talking about all things tight ends. It's not right, Ross?
Yeah, that's right. Because at the moment, as we spoke with Jeff on Saturday, if you watched that interview, we mentioned Tight End University, which is going on at the moment. It's a camp that it was organized by George Kittle, Travis Kelce, the two main tight ends in the NFL at the moment. And these guys have invited along all the major tight ends across the league, including TJ Hawkinson. Noah Fant was there. I don't think Tim Tebow was there. That's what I found out.
No,
you never
he wasn't.
Know. He might get later in. But that's a big, major issue to talk about later on in the show. We're going to start off with the breaking news.
Oh yes,
from around the NFL.
Here we go.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have made a big acquisition.
Trai
Turner has signed with the team, but it's not so happy for another player, David DeCastro. He was kicked off the team or released in a nicer term. He was a former first-round pick by the Steelers in 2012.
Yeah.
He's a guard, and he cost them $8 million in cap room. So this is maybe more of a business move than anything else. And he receives kind of a bit of a harsh deal from the Steelers, the team he's been with for nearly a decade.
Yeah, definitely. And the phrase money moves, Ross? This is the definition of a money move right here. David DeCastro, obviously fantastic talent and a well-respected person at his position. He has two-time All-Pro and 6-time straight Pro Bowler every year he's been. Pretty much every year he's been at the Steelers. And, this year he would be going into his last year of his $58 million deal, which was ran over the past 6 years. However, Pittsburgh decided this is a move we can make to save some money. And so they're bringing in Trai Turner. He was released by the LA Chargers in March this year to clear $11 million off their capital or their draft capital as well. And this, you may look at this and think this is harsh. This is something that's unfair on David DeCastro, but this is actually why I love the NFL. I think that the salary cap system is one of the best inventions in sport. It keeps everybody, everybody has the same opportunities. Everybody can spend the same amount of money. You choose how you manage that money. And so it keeps other teams who maybe wouldn't have the talents of Tom Brady or the draft picks of Detroit or all these things to really stay competitive. And so this is an example of why the NFL is great, in my opinion.
You're 100% right there. And also this year, in 2021, teams had a tighter cap space to work with. So I think this is a business decision, as you said. But the Pittsburgh Tribune said that DeCastro might file grievance against the Steelers. He's leaving this matter to his agent. We'll see how it kind of works out and what happens. But I don't think he's particularly pleased that he got the right deal there. Some think he might join the Bengals out of spite.
Ooh.
He's also linked with the New York Giants.
Okay.
Possibly some other teams looking for a good offensive lineman. We'll see where he ends up. Another major story coming out of this week. NFL throwback helmets are back.
Oh, yes.
The rule has been relaxed. This rule will come into effect in 2022, as I mentioned. And it's the first time since 2013 that the NFL will allow this.
Yeah, this you may be listening and thinking, why are they getting excited about helmets? And fair enough. But if anybody is a fan of NFL history, you see the greats play in, the throwback uniforms and the old uniforms, the old style of helmets. And I think this is class because you're going to see your favorite players from today dressed like your favorite players from tomorrow. I'm going to get to see Drew Lock dressed like John Elway, and I think that's class. But I'm also excited to see some of my favorite unis from previous times now back in.
Yep.
And I know, Ross, we each have our own favorites.
We do, Zach. Yep.
Well, what teams are you looking
kick us off
to
there?
seeing?
You kick us off there, Zach, on your favorite. I want to know, because you've kept this a secret from me.
Okay.
Before these podcasts, we have a little chat with each other just to break down some things. And Zach wasn't for telling me what the ones he has picked are. So, Zach, tell me now.
I've got the teapot in my hand and I'm going to spill some tea here for you, Ross, right?
Good now.
I am looking forward to seeing two teams in particular. I want to see the Eagles with that fantastic 80s uniform.
Yeah.
You saw Randall Cunningham wear it, the fantastic wings in the helmet.
Yeah.
I thought it was class. It was fantastic midnight green color. It looked fantastic. And another one I want to see are the Titans do a throwback to the Houston Oilers.
Oh,
what do you think about that
nasty,
one, Ross?
I'm on board with you. That would be absolutely amazing to see that. But I don't think it'll happen because there's a lot of legal stuff and logistics to figure out there.
One that
I'm looking forward. Yeah, that's it. One that I'm looking forward to seeing is Kelly Green, the Jets throwback helmets.
Oh, nice.
There's quite a lot going on there. The original white Cowboys helmets from 2011 would be nice to see back.
Oh yeah.
I saw DeMarco Murray was the last running back. I remember he carried that off quite well, that helmet. But there's one major one we're both we're not forgetting it because we've got it here lined up. But I think we are both behind each other when we say this, Zach. It's the Tampa Bay Creamsicle.
What a uniform. It looks fantastic. And the helmet design as well, the old Buccaneers logo, brilliant. And this sort of leads us on to our next topic, Ross, these rules are being introduced in 2022. Are we going to see Tom Brady be able to sit up in this kit?
Oh yeah, no doubt. He'll be back. But
are you sure?
HBO, yeah, I'm pretty confident that he'll be back. But
okay.
From what we heard in the HBO's The Shop, which was the TV show that Tom Brady was on, he did say that we're coming to the end. And I thought that was an interesting thing that he said. He used the word "we're." What does he mean by that? We're. He also followed up by saying it's coming to an end. Now, I understand it's the whole legacy and career of Tom Brady coming to the end. But who's he talking about when he says we're? Could it possibly be Bill Belichick that might follow him into retirement?
No, I think this is just the whole Tom Brady on my team and everybody. We're sort of coming to an end. I can't believe Tom Brady actually let these words out of his mouth. I never thought that he would let it finish on his own terms, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he had recent knee surgery this offseason. Maybe his body is starting to tell him, okay, it's time to hang up soon. I don't know. Could
be right there. Another interesting statement they came out with during this HBO show was that during free agency, okay, let's go back to 2020 when Tom Brady was a free agent. Now we remember this well because there was a lot of teams in the mix for him. The Raiders were one.
Yes.
Yeah. 49ers were possibly one because I remember hearing about that and holding my breath. And obviously that never came to be, sadly. And there's a few other teams in the mix. Yeah. But obviously he ended up going to the Buccaneers. But he said at the last minute, he found out that a team dropped out of the race for him. And he remembers saying to himself, I can't believe you're sticking with that guy. Now, he said in a wee bit more of a choice way.
Yes.
But we like to keep things a wee bit more family friendly.
That's it, Ross.
And I couldn't believe that he made that statement. Now, people have been debating over who he said this about, in my opinion, I think it was Derek Carr.
Yeah, I was reading earlier on this afternoon, and a couple of pages were reporting that they believe, according to different leaked sources, that the bleepity bleep, maybe that's the way I'll refer to it. Tom Brady, said the full thing. He was Derek Carr. And he also went on to say in that show, where he talked with a bunch of other athletes, such as Draymond Green, who plays for Golden State Warriors in the NBA. He talked and said, it wasn't like I was going to go to that team anyway, but I knew what it felt like to not be wanted by an organization. And that takes us all the way back to whenever he was drafted, and he dreamed of going to the 49ers were his team.
He did.
He grew up in the Bay Area, not far away from Candlestick Park, and they denied him. And look what it turned into. He became a monster for the Patriots. And so for me, looking back and seeing what he did at the Buccaneers, you see Tom Brady is such a highly motivated person, and you can see where his motivation stems from. Rejection.
It does. And he obviously will hold a grudge against whatever team that was who bowed out at the last minutes. Yeah, and if it is the Raiders, I don't know if they play the Raiders this year, the Bucs, but if they do, lights out for them.
Yes.
Let's move on to a quarterback who's got a lot more to prove. Jared Goff. Brad Holmes, the GM of the Lions, came out with some statements a statement about Jared Goff. He believes that he is the answer to their long-term situation at quarterback. Now, obviously, they got rid of Matt Stafford. He joins the Rams in a deal that saw a bit of a swap of quarterbacks there. Holmes said, "I never viewed Goff as a bridge option. He's been a winning quarterback, and I think his resume speaks for itself."
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take this from two standpoints. From Jared Goff, okay, this is exactly what he wants to hear. He was in a situation at the LA Rams that turned sour gradually. You saw him in the Super Bowl, obviously didn't end so well for him there, overthrew Brandon Cooks in the end zone. And after that, there were questions. I think Sean McVay was starting to lose a lot of patience with Jared Goff then. And so the situation for him, going to the Lions, it's a new start, and the organization are saying they believe in him. This is exactly what he wants. Okay, that's Jared Goff. From my standpoint, I just do not see how he is going to be the long-term answer for the Lions. You see, we've seen this. We've seen this in the NFC North this offseason. You look at Andy Dalton, he was promised the keys to the kingdom for the Bears. And what did they do? They went out and drafted Justin Fields. I can see this happening next year. I can see Detroit taking one of the quarterbacks who we talked about not that long ago on the podcast and taking him as the long-term option. So for this, I think it's a bit premature to say this. However, this is exactly what Goff wants to hear right now.
No, I think you're right. Goff is in a situation where he's new in town. He's got a lot less to work with in Detroit than he did in LA. You look to LA, he had Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Gerald Everett. Now, actually, Everett wasn't there last year, to be fair, but he had a great line in LA. He had a great defense to win him back the ball. Detroit doesn't have these things. Detroit has hardly any receivers because they lost Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. They don't have a great line, and they have a very minimal defense. So I don't think Goff finds success in Detroit. I hate to say it because he is one of these QBs that thrives from not only a great team around him, but a great play caller. And that's what he had in Sean McVay. Sean McVay was scheming things up for him to be able to give him success or a slight benefit. And I remember he had a great game. There's one game that stands out to me. He had a great game against Kansas City. And that probably goes down as one of the best games in NFL history.
Unbelievable.
I think, do you remember it? It was a very high scoring game. I can't actually remember the final score, but I think the Rams came out of that as winners. And Goff performed very well in that game. And that was a slight showing of what he can do if he's put in the right situation. And I think he loses all help by going to the Lions, but we'll see how that figures itself out.
Exactly that. And to finish off the news tonight, and we're going to talk a bit about a news story that broke this afternoon. We're recording on Monday, and that Demaryius Thomas, the wide receiver, formerly of the Denver Broncos, who played for the Texans and the Jets, is retiring from the NFL after 10 seasons. Ross, what's your reaction here?
To be honest, Zach, I think you'll have more of a reaction than me. You're a long-term Broncos fan. I'm not. But I do know that he has contributed a lot to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are even calling for the Hall of Fame with Thomas. And I don't agree, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he did quite enough. But I know that he had a major time in his career when he joined up with Peyton Manning. And his all-time stats look a wee bit like this. He caught 724 passes for 9,763 yards, 63 touchdowns. And as I said there, he had the most productive part of his career with Manning there over in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And he also won Super Bowl 50, Zach,
and
I'm sure you remember that well.
I do. You know, whenever I first became a Broncos fan, I hit it right around whenever Peyton Manning had joined Denver. And Demaryius Thomas was one of the stars of our offense. I think of the 2013 season where we really the Broncos really rewrote the record book for an offensive performance throughout the season. And he played a pinnacle role in that. Peyton Manning, he broke the touchdown record. Who caught the touchdown pass? Demaryius Thomas. Peyton Manning broke the passing yards record for a single season. Who caught that ball? It was Demaryius Thomas. And you mentioned there, as well about how the most productive point of his career was in Denver, and 63 touchdowns, you say, in his career. 60 of those came in Denver as well. But the moment for me that actually, whenever I look back at Demaryius Thomas's career, the standout moment for me, and a lot of people remember this moment, you don't have to be a Broncos fan to remember it, is the Tebow Mania game in the 2011 wildcard game where the Broncos made overtime. And in the first handle of the ball, Tim Tebow threw a pass to Demaryius Thomas, and he took it for 8 yards into the end zone and down out the tunnel. And we went on to we went on to the Patriots. We beat Pittsburgh in the wild card game. And it was an unbelievable moment, not just for Tebow's career, but for Broncos fans of all types. And I remember my dad, back then I wasn't a fan really of the Broncos, but I remember my dad saying, "Son, sit down and watch this." And I couldn't believe it. I didn't know the rules. I still knew it was amazing. Yeah. So Demaryius Thomas, congrats on your amazing career, and you'll go down as a Broncos legend forever.
He will. And he'll go down as an NFL legend. Hall of Fame is a completely different argument.
Yeah.
And I'm not about to argue that because I don't feel like I'm in the best position to do so. But we can leave that open to any listeners or viewers who maybe know a wee bit about Demaryius, and give your opinions in the comments as to what you think about him and in regards to the Hall of Fame. But that's a very, very strong news section today. We've got a lot of different bits and pieces covered there, from the Castro to Demaryius Thomas. We've got a amazing segment 2 ahead of us. We're going to be joined by our first ever NFL player, as I mentioned, Tariq Thompson, defensive back out of San Diego State. Played with the Aztecs for 4 years, 2017 through to 2021. He's, just an amazing player, a bit of a ball hawk. Played 47 games, scored a touchdown, 12 interceptions during his time there, 6 forced fumbles, and he's collected every one of those fumbles. That's amazing. And I'm looking forward to talking to him. So we'll see you after the short break for segment 2 of the Hard Count Sports podcast. Welcome to segment 2 of the podcast. I'm joined with Tariq Thompson, defensive back, strong safety out of San Diego State. He's now with the Buffalo Bills. Tariq, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys.
No worries. You were picked up there by the Buffalo Bills, but before we get into that, I want to ask you a wee bit about your time at college. You played 47 games during your time at San Diego State, 1 touchdown, 153 solo tackles, 1 sack in there as well, 12 interceptions. You seem to have been quite an impact player there. How did that come about? What drives you to be such a good player?
Honestly, first just God. God giving me abilities and the intelligence. Go and play this game, and my teammates, my family, coaches from when I was youth football to all the way up into college. They helped prepare me for the moment, and I just believed in myself, and I did what I was supposed to do, studying, taking care of my body, and just working hard. So just trying to prepare myself to make those plays, and I made them through the power of God.
Yeah.
Very good.
You're a monumental player at San Diego State, and is there any highlights of your time there? I know you had a big interception and sack against Zach Wilson, a guy who ends up in the same division as you. You played Brigham Young in November time, 2019, and you had a massive game there. Is that one of your highlights, or is there another one that you'd like to mention?
That was one of my favorite games, but my favorite moment was 2019, our bowl game. We played against Central Michigan. In the New Mexico Bowl. I had a pretty good game there as well, but just winning. Whenever you win a bowl game or any game in general, it's just something that you enjoy. And I'm a competitor. I don't really like losing, so I couldn't really say the Zach Wilson game because they got us back this year. But it's in the past, and just looking forward for the future.
That's it. Yeah,
definitely. And after college, you've made the next step up in football and signed with the Buffalo Bills. And I'm quite interested to know what made you want to decide to play in Buffalo, and also what's the transition been like from college into NFL so far?
So the reason I wanted to go to Buffalo is just because it was just a perfect fit. The coaching staff there, the organization, the players, they're all winning in competitive community that just, their goal is winning games, and that's all I'm about. And their staff there has been very welcoming. Had a good relationship with the coaches there. The veterans there are great players. They treat everybody with respect, and they help each other out, and there's no egos in the building, and that's just something that I can buy into, and something that I love a lot. And so it wasn't really hard of a choice to go there. So far, I had a great time there so far. Learning from vets like Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, and just a whole bunch of guys. We got Tremaine Edmonds, you got the D line is just incredible, and it's a championship caliber team already.
It is.
But, we start over this year 0-0, and my goal is to try to help this team win games, and that starts with the first preseason game.
Definitely.
You mentioned a few of the players that you've been kind of learning off and getting to know. Are there any specific teammates that you've made bonds with that have maybe upped your game through the OTAs? You mentioned Micah Hyde there. He's an amazing player, and same thing with Trey White. But is there any other guys? Is there any other specific guys that have brought up the level of your game since you've joined the Bills?
Definitely Micah Hyde. He's someone that I got to meet when I got out here, or before I left for Buffalo. He's an incredible guy, a good person on and off the field, and his work ethic and his knowledge of the game and knowledge of the defense is something that it's something that you can't really explain it, because he just knows everything second nature, and that's something that hopefully I can get under my belt. And I try to be a smart football player as well, so I definitely look up to him. And Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, those are just great players that have been in the league for a while, and hopefully I can be in their situation years down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And I would be wrong with me not to shout out the 2 Brits on your team. You've got 2 British guys, and Christian Wade and F.A. Obada now as well. Have you had a chance to connect with those guys as well?
Those are great guys. F.A. always be messing around with me, having little jokes and stuff like that. And Christian Wade is a really cool dude as well. Very friendly, welcoming me up with open arms, and those guys are really cool. And just a testament to the people in the Bills culture, the playoff caliber setting that, Coach Sean and, the rest of the staff there just put together. So, it's just been a blessing to be a part of this organization so far. And hopefully I can get further down the road with this organization.
It's quite cool because we've seen Christian Wade from a unique perspective. I actually remember watching him play professional rugby. To see him go and, take a crack at the NFL, it's been amazing to watch. And, I'm rooting for him as well. But you touched there on your coach and Sean McDermott, and you've also mentioned a couple of great safeties and Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer as well. Is there something in particular that you're wanting to learn this coming year, or something that you've already learned from them in particular going forth?
Honestly, I want to learn everything from them. Those guys do it right. Their work ethic, their courage, their intensity, their preparation, all those things, their routines, like taking care of their body, preparing for games, all that stuff. I can learn from, because they're doing it at this highest level for 8, 9 years. So like it's something that I cherish, and you don't really get a chance to see vets like that and that have been that successful in the league, and that's something that hopefully I can be one day. So definitely it's definitely an honor just to be in the same room with those guys, because I've been a big fan of both of their games since I was in high school. So something that I cherish and I try to take advantage of.
So you slot those two guys in at safety, Tariq. I think that defense is a great unit, and obviously the offense have their own players who are championship caliber, and Josh Allen, quarterback. You've got Cole Beasley in there. You've got Stephon Diggs, and now you've got Emmanuel Sanders too. What is the feeling within the Buffalo camp? Do you think you guys are primed to make a playoff push in 2021?
Honestly, I can't really speak to that yet. I have a lot of stuff to work on for myself. Try to help the team win. So, the team is there. What they did last year is not going anywhere. They're moving in the right direction, and I try to take it one game at a time for myself. I can't really speak on like the whole team, because I really don't have no say. Like I have no foot in the game yet. So I can't really. But I think that this team is going to be special, and if I feel like we're on the right track of doing that thing, doing what we did last year and more.
And you've got a bit of a break in between now, between OTAs and training camp, and I was just wondering, what are your plans between now and then? Are you going to put some foundation work in, maybe go back home, visit family, or what are your plans?
I'm probably gonna just head home and just train and get my body and mind right for training camp and the preseason. It's definitely a bright future ahead of me, I feel like. So I got to prepare for that way, and it's a dream come true to do this. So I'm putting all my eggs in this one basket, and trying to make the best of it.
I want to ask you a wee bit about Josh Allen, because that's a guy you might be going up against in practice. Has he made you a better player? Because obviously he's got a rocket arm, he's got great IQ. You're having to face him in training camp. What's that been like, Tariq?
It's awesome. We got Mr. Trubisky as well, Jake Fromm, Davis Webb, and some other great quarterbacks. Yeah. So like just seeing them work and competing against them and the receivers and the tight ends and the running backs. We have so many great players that they put in the work, and the intensity and competitiveness is there. So it's just an honor to be there, and it's definitely making me a better player. I've learned a lot from them so far, and I'm just continuing going to learn. And you can never learn enough.
And also the fan base in Buffalo is, definitely one of the most famous fan bases.
It is.
I'd say in sports. You always see videos of them in the playoffs. It was insane. All of the fans jumping on top of tables. And have they reached out to you as well as a player? Have they been very welcoming to you as a Buffalo Bill?
Yeah, the fans are amazing. Honestly, you can't describe it because you see fans everywhere in the city. When I was leaving my house, I seen Buffalo stickers. I'm like, I'm in the other side of the world, other side of the country, and just you never seem to get amazed by these Buffalo Bills Mafia fans. They're just the best. It's just an honor, honestly, because they're very supportive, and they're there to support you no matter what happens, and that's cool about that organization and the fans. They just love you there.
That's it. As we come to the end of our interviews, Tariq, we ask a few more trivial questions. So
Okay.
I'm going to put this to you. If there was one safety, past or present in the NFL that you would love to learn from that isn't already on your own team, who would it be?
It'd be either Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu. Those guys are just playmakers that, that's something that I consider myself a playmaker, making plays on the ball, and just the way they influence the game. They both won Super Bowl championships, and they're both in the Hall of Fame, and that's something that one day I hope to be in. So seeing how they work and seeing how they view the game and stuff like that is something that I would definitely want to know and want to see.
And off the back of that, I remember seeing an interview with Peyton Manning, and he said that Peyton Manning would feature a lot in Ed Reed's Hall of Fame tape because most of the picks that he threw were to Ed Reed. Is there a quarterback in particular that you would love to either intercept or sack?
Anybody, there's a little bit.
How about that guy Zach Young? How about that guy Zach Wilson over in New York? I'm sure you want to intercept him.
He's a great player.
Yeah,
I love to intercept him again, but my goal is just to be the best version of myself and just help the team win. Try to be on that 50-man roster or whatever helps the team win. So I'm not really into personal stats yet. I gotta try to influence the game in whatever way I can.
We also ask this question, but we haven't actually ever asked it to an NFL player who's on an NFL roster, so this might make it a bit difficult. But we ask every guest what their Super Bowl 56 prediction is, and who do you think the two teams will be playing in it. But Tariq, we understand if you don't want to answer that because it could pose a few problems for you in the locker room if any of the guys hear this. So if you want, you can tell us, but don't worry if you can't.
I'll just not answer that one. I think that there's a lot of great teams in the league, and everybody's 0-0, so everybody has a chance of making it. So that's my answer.
Definitely.
That's a great answer, Tariq. It's been a pleasure having you on. We wish you all the best for the future. I'm sure this season will be an interesting one. It's your rookie year, so it'll be hopefully a really groundbreaking one for you, and a chance for you to get on tape and show what you can do. So we're looking forward to seeing you on Sundays, and all the best.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me on. It means a lot.
No worries.
Back with section 3 of the podcast, just after our interview with Tariq Thompson, and what a fantastic guy, very generous of him to give us some time to talk to him. And this has the workings of a fantastic story, Ross, for him.
It does. What a guy. It's a first NFL player, and I think sometimes you can go into these things thinking that maybe if he's an NFL player, he can be a wee bit more big-headed, he can be a wee bit more self-confident, but he was none of that. Now, obviously, he has confidence as a player. You need that. But there was nothing in his personality that gave me any kind of bad vibes. He was a lovely guy, very down to earth. And, he's a big player. He's an impact player. And if you can put a personality like that onto a player who's so monumental on a San Diego State defense, I think you've got the makings of an NFL player who'll be great in the years to come. And his final goal he mentioned to us there was the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised based on the stuff I saw from his college tape. If he's only getting better and learning from the guys that he talked with, Micah Hyde, Jordan Boyer, Trey White, the world's his oyster.
For me, whenever I was chatting to him, the thing that struck me was how good of a head he has on his shoulders, the great mindset he has, the approach. Whenever we were asking them about, how he's taking things, going into training camp, it was a day at a time, just getting better, as you say. And, he's just a fantastic, very mature mindset. So we went through there, everything. We went through everything safety in the interview. And now we're going to switch over to all things tight end, Ross. And as you mentioned in the news earlier on, the Tight End University has just wrapped on Sunday, where 49 tight ends from around the league met up in Nashville to form a tight end summit. What's your take on it, Ross?
Well, Nashville's the home of country, isn't it? But
Mhm.
this week it's been the home of tight ends, and
Yes.
George Kittle and Kelsey have done a great job of organising that, and inviting a lot of different guys from different teams, and really there's representation from all NFL teams there. I'm nearly sure, so that's great to see. And we were talking about this with Jeff on Saturday. Jeff said to us that there's a three-pronged approach to this. He took a three-pronged approach. He said these guys are trying to establish a brand. They're taking time to enjoy learning from each other, and they're empowering each other.
Mm.
Now, those are quite similar, but I'll tell you the difference. The second one, taking time to learn from each other, that's when it comes down to the X and O's. Those guys are maybe sharing moves, they're sharing routes, they're sharing skills. And then the third one, empowering each other, that's more of a personal thing. These guys are tight ends. Sometimes they're overlooked.
Right.
This is more a person-to-person thing. They're making relationships, they're forming bonds with each other. They're pushing each other's brands, they're giving each other publicity. A lot of these guys aren't on the same team. So it's very interesting for me to see that they're all interested in furthering each other's brand and image. So interesting stuff to take out of Tight End University. And Jeff had a lot to say on it there. So if you want to hear more of that, listen to Saturday's interview with him. We're going to move on, though, to three tight ends each who we think will break out in 2021. Would you like to kick us off on that, Zach?
Well, firstly, I think it's worth noting, just how important a good tight end is. Tight end, you may look at it and go, well, they're just an extra blocker, they're just an extra lineman. But if you have a good tight end, Ross, you can absolutely transform that offense. You think of the three great guys, the three great tight ends in the league, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Darren Waller, and just how important they are, and the receiving yards they churn out, they have every single season, and the heart and soul they are to their offenses. And you also see, you look at Kittle as well, whenever he's injured, just how much that San Francisco offense stalls as well.
Yeah, I know well about him because I'm a 49ers fan. If you haven't heard already, I'm sure you've heard it far too much. Kittle can do everything as a tight end. And you don't tend to find that a lot in the league. You either find a really good receiving one or a really good blocker. Kittle is one of those guys who can do both. Kelce, not so much. Kelsey's very good with his hands and can catch and extend plays and is almost like a bigger wide receiver in that spot. Darren Waller is another guy he's got a question mark over his head. Is he the third guy? Probably, or a few other guys you could stick in there. We think he is, and it comes down to fantasy. He was a major player in fantasy in 2020, and he racked up some major yards on the ground. But those guys are all, they're kind of proven.
They are.
In my opinion.
They are, definitely.
I want to know about the guys who are unproven.
Yeah, so Ross and I both have selected three underrated tight ends who we think you should keep an eye out for next season. And I'm going to kick us off. And I'm going to the NFC North, to Titletown itself, Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I have picked Robert. Now, I have to get this right because I live with a Packers fan. And if I get this wrong, he's going to kill me.
Robert, you don't want to get it wrong, Zach.
It's Robert Tonyan, not Tonyan. Tonyan. Okay?
Tonyan.
Tight end for the Green Bay Packers. He went undrafted in 2017, signed with Detroit, bounced around there, and then has signed with Green Bay and had a fantastic 2020 season. Was really his breakout. He was one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets, had 52 receptions, 586 receiving yards, and finished with 11 touchdowns. And if you go back and look at the Week 4 game against the Falcons on Monday Night Football, Tonyan was all over the place. He had 6 catches for 98 yards. And here's the most impressive part, finished with 3 touchdowns. And I remember the buzz on fantasy football of trying to sign Robert Tonyan on that Monday. Even in the NFC Championship game, he caught a touchdown. So Aaron Rodgers obviously has trusted him whenever he needs. He needs to have in those important moments whenever he needs a guy to come. He's fantastic in the red zone as well, and he's fantastic on play action in short yardage situations, and that's why Aaron Rodgers loves him. So I have a feeling that 2021 will be a lot like 2020. It just depends under who's under center in Green Bay in next season.
I think that's a very good take on the whole situation there. You know, Bob Tunyon, as I like to call him.
Oh yeah, big
broke
Bob.
out when Aaron Rodgers was thrown to him.
Yeah.
And as you say, he bounced around a wee bit and he never found that home, as per se. And he found it in Green Bay with number 12 throwing that ball. And if it isn't that guy throwing the ball, I don't know what will happen. But I would like to be pretty confident in saying that Bob can only get better this year. But it'll be a large task at hand. Let's stick in the NFC North and move across to the Detroit Lions.
Oh,
there doesn't seem to be a lot going right for them at the moment. As I mentioned earlier in the show in segment 1, they lost 2 of their main receivers, Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, leaving them with very little wide receiver help. They did draft St. Brown in the 4th round there. So they've got very, very little to work with. But one thing they do have is a stud at tight end. TJ Hawkinson is in that offense. Now, when I mention his college, this is the interesting thing because a lot of the great tight ends come from Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
And TJ does too. So George Kittle came from Iowa. A guy who I'm going to mention later on the show, Noah Fant, he also came out of there. It's a tight end factory, apparently. You might as well call that tight end university in my opinion. But there he is. He's in Detroit now. He was 2019 pick 8 in that draft. 2020 he racked up 67 catches, 723 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which is pretty good for a tight end in my opinion.
Not bad.
He had some big games coming against Houston. He went for 89 yards. Chicago, he went from 84 yards. Atlanta, he went for 59 yards and a touchdown. I think this year, with the depleted targets and Jared Goff trying to prove himself, I think that TJ Hawkinson becomes the major person in that offense. The guy who moves the sticks, the guy who gives them hope in the red zone. So I think he'll not be short of targets this year. It's how he uses them. Yeah. And I think he can use in a good way. If 2020 is a good way to go off, I think he'll be, careful with his targets and use them well. If he can stay healthy as well is another question. He had a few injury concerns in 2020. But this is a guy that was very popular in a lot of fantasy teams. I remember there was a few tight ends, who, who you're kind of thinking, who do I pick at tight end? You've got the 3 guys who were mentioned at the start there, Waller, Kittle, and Kelsey. And then when you kind of come out of that bracket, you're unsure. But I think TJ Hawkinson solidified himself as one of the guys who can hold you down in fantasy football.
I really like that take. I do think that, Goff will struggle to find targets, and I think TJ Hawkinson will come up big in those moments where he needs someone to put their hands up and just take the ball. And I think that's a really good pick, Ross. I'm going to take us now from the north to the east, and specifically to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I've picked Dallas Goedert, tight end for the Eagles. He's drafted in 2018 from South Dakota State, and he had a pretty good 2020, 46 receiving yards, 524 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. But really what I like about him is his blocking ability. He's 6'5", 256 pounds, and really, really good at opening up that Philadelphia run game. And he makes the quarterback's life a bit easier. Mind you, having watched the Eagles last season, might not think that with how much Carson Wentz kept laid on the ground. But here's the part where I like Dallas Goedert going forward into next season. You already have a proven tight end there in Zach Ertz. Okay, everybody knows what Zach Ertz is able to do. He's proven. He's a Super Bowl champion. Everything, he'll do well. He's done fantastic. But here's the thing that's happening at the minute. It happened a couple of months before, and it's still lingering, is possible trades out of Philadelphia. Philadelphia are in a bit of a turning point. They have a brand new head coach, for a new quarterback. Carson Wentz is now left, and it feels as though they're in the turning of chapters. And so Zach Ertz's future in Philly is very much on the rocks. You saw the last game of the season at the Link in Philadelphia. He returned onto the field after the game, looked very emotional. And for me, I do think all signs are pointing towards a possible trade for Zach Ertz. And with that, Goddard can step into that tight end one role and really take on where Zach leaves, and really, thrive off those targets, thrive off that exposure and that play time. But it all depends on how he and Jalen Hurts, their relationship
connect.
Exactly, definitely. But we'll see with Dallas Goedert. But I like him going fourth.
That's a really good pick, and it's quite a bold one because you've got, as you mentioned, Zach Ertz sitting ahead of him on that depth chart at the moment.
Yep.
So, for your take to come true, it'll take Zach Ertz to be traded out of there, or for a big injury to happen, which is, you don't want to wish that on someone. But
no,
it's bold, Zach. It's bold. I'll be honest with you, but it could work out for you. And hopefully, if it does work out for you, you heard it here on the Hard Count Sports podcast from Zach Humphrey. Let's move to Washington for a second, to a guy who played quarterback coming out of Virginia Tech. He was drafted by Arizona, in the 4th round in 2014. Logan Thomas.
Oh.
He's now become a tight end. He became a tight end in 2016 at the Lions training camp. The Lions seem to have a lot of good tight ends coming through there. They had Tunyon, they had TJ Hawkinson, and they had Logan Thomas. Maybe they get rid of a few too early, but here, we'll reserve judgment. So as I mentioned, he was a QB on a few rosters. He was a QB for the Cardinals, the Dolphins, the Giants, and he found some more success at the tight end position than he did at the QB position. He racked up 72 receptions, 670 yards, and 6 touchdowns in 2020 with the Washington Redskins. Can't say that. Football team. Very, very easy though to do that, isn't it?
You've got to put a pound in the Redskins jar now there, Ross.
Yeah. Massive games against the Seahawks. 101 yards he racked up against them. Pittsburgh, he also had a massive game. He racked up just shy of 100 with 98 yards, 1 touchdown. So he's had some big games under his belt. He was also a major player when it came to their playoff run, which was short-lived, I know, against the Buccaneers. But he did come up big. But here's an interesting stat for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
So he didn't play so well with Dwayne Haskins, but then they got rid of Dwayne and they brought in a player by the name of Alex Smith. Well, they had him, but they got him in. He played a wee bit better with Alex Smith. Now he's out. Okay, so we take him out of the equation. And who do you bring in? You bring in Fitzmagic. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the quarterback he's played in Miami, he's played in so many places now.
So the journeyman, yeah.
He is a journeyman. Now here's that. Since 2010, Fitzpatrick, when targeting tight ends, his touchdown interception rate is 4 to 40.
Oh.
So sorry, that's the other way around.
Oh, right, okay. That's much better.
That's not 4 touchdowns to 40 interceptions. No, that's not what that means. It's not. I'm confused now. That's not what that means, though, Zach. Okay.
Okay.
I'm actually not sure what it means, but it's a good thing. Trust me, it's a good thing.
Okay. It's a positive.
This is showing up now. So I made the big statement, and now I can't even back it up. Here, listen. Right, I'm lost now. I don't know what to do. No, from what I read, now the article I saw this on seemed to be a positive thing. Okay, it's not. Now you would immediately look at that and think it's 4 touchdowns to 40 interceptions, but that's not what it is. I think it's a 40. It's a pretty good chance, whatever way it lies. It's a pretty good chance that when he throws to tight ends, that they do well, and they're productive. So take that stat, which is a positive one. You can look up on and that'll back it up. When he throws to tight ends, they are productive, and I think Logan Thomas will benefit from Fitzpatrick. We got over that mess. Well,
you got there. And that's also
there.
very interesting for me, Ross, because you just talked about a quarterback turning to tight end. Wonder where I've heard that one before.
Oh,
Hmm.
I didn't even think of that. You know?
Did you not? No, I thought it was blatantly
No,
obvious.
actually didn't. Completely forgot about that. Completely forgot. I can't believe though. I completely messed up that massive stat though that I was going to tell you.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
Just due to the fact that I didn't actually know what it meant. Should have known that. Should have known that. Didn't even just wrote it down, Zach, and didn't even think about it.
Hey, it happens, man. I like Logan Thomas. I think that's a great pick. And I do, you know, he definitely showed signs last year in that offense, and so I think that's definitely one to keep an eye on. So for me, my final underrated tight end to look forward to next year, I'm going back up to the NFC North, to the Packers' most hated team. I'm going to the Chicago Bears, and I am taking Cole Kmet. Now,
interesting take.
Off-camera listeners, Ross said to me, he was very surprised by this pick. And that's okay. You may be too. Yeah. That's fine. I understand that. He was a rookie last year, drafted from Notre Dame. He finished with 28 receptions, 243 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, let's face it, that's nothing to be wowed by, okay? And in his first year, I would really say he was playing Robin to Jimmy Graham's Batman, okay? The first 9 games, only 8 targets. Okay, and was basically blocking, wasn't really getting much of a role. However, after that, he was averaging over 5 targets per game. But this is the point that I want to make about Cole Kmet. You have a new quarterback drafted this season in Justin Fields. Okay. Now, I don't think that Andy Dalton is going to finish the starter in Chicago. I think Fields is going to take over. I'm not going to say very soon, but I'm going to say soon enough, okay? And Justin Fields likes tight ends in the red zone. 6 of Fields' touchdowns at Ohio State last year were caught by a tight end, okay? And Cole Kmet...
See, you got the stats down, Zach. You know what you're talking about, whereas I don't.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm just a nerd. I just look up loads of stats. That's why I like Cole Kmet. I think that he's a big target. He's got a good set of hands, and he'll be someone that a struggling rookie who's facing tough defenses will see a big guy and go, right, I'll just give it to that guy over there. He'll throw the ball to him. And I also think that last year you look, okay, it really wasn't a great year for anybody on offense in Chicago. Mitch Trubisky, I think going forth to the Bills, you know, and if he can take that backup role, and I hope that Josh Allen doesn't get injured, but I think he'll do well there as a backup. And I think he'll be a starter sooner rather than later. But I think that a more solid position at quarterback will help Cole Kmet going forth next season, whether that be Dalton, but I think it'll be mostly Fields. I rest my case.
You do. You've done quite well there, Zach. Much better than I did when it came to rest of my case. I think I'm still having that one up in the air somewhere. To be honest, I think we'll have to forget that now. But let's move to the AFC.
Okay.
Another Iowa guy, a guy I touched on lightly earlier, Noah Fant. He plays for your Denver Broncos. So he does. So I'm sure you know him well. 62 receptions, 673 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 2020. As I mentioned, he was out of Iowa. He was a 2019 20th pick in the draft. He finished the season well. Didn't start so well, but finished it well, racking up 81 yards and 1 touchdown against the Titans. I'm sure you remember that game.
I do, yes.
Now, the one thing I know at the Denver Broncos is they did struggle to move the ball on offense this year. And it seemed to be most of the ball, in terms of picking up yardage on offense, the ball seemed to be moved by Melvin Gordon, the running back there previously with the Chargers. But I think if they put in Teddy Bridgewater, he likes to throw it and he likes to pick up short downs. You don't tend to see Teddy throwing it too long. So I think if he can get the right play call and the right formations, put Noah in the I formation, I think he can pick up a lot of yards there as the tight end of the Broncos. And I think he's one to keep your eye on because the Denver Broncos are still figuring out wide receiver targets. Jerry Jeudy's in there. We know he's legit. Other than that, though, I think it's a bit up in the air. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I would say the expectation and reality have been very different for the Broncos wide receivers.
Yeah. I think you're right. I would agree. So then you shift over now to the tight end position, and I think they have got a bit of a stud there. And I think if you can get the ball to Noah Fant, you're on to a winner. So, same kind of thing with TJ Hawkinson. If he can get the targets and if he can stay healthy, I think he's in for a massive year.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick, and I'm not just saying that because I love my Broncos, but I found a stat about Noah Fant recently, and it took me by surprise. Compared with other players in that offense, and in particular Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant accumulated more yards after the catch than any other player on the offense, which really surprised me. I was thinking it would be Jerry Jeudy. And you also look at the moments where Drew Lock has succeeded. I think of the 2019 game against the Houston Texans, which in my opinion was Drew Lock's real breakout moment in the NFL. He went to Noah Fant a lot, and I do think with the right quarterback situation, Drew is obviously going to have more time to learn. He's going to have time to really bond with this team, to learn from each other, and to play in training camp, which he really needed last year, but just with COVID he didn't get. So I think it's going to improve that way for Noah as well, and he does love Noah.
I think you're right.
It'd be interesting to see what Bridgewater and Noah Fant's relationship's like.
Yeah, no, you'll be right. Now, we have missed out on a few guys. I'm sure you're thinking to yourselves, what about the Jonnu Smiths, the Mark Andrews of the Ravens? Yeah. There's a few in-betweener guys who I want to mention, just give an honourable mention to. So as I said, Mark Andrews, he was massive on fantasy.
Yep.
Jonnu Smith, another great player, he ends up in the Patriots, along with Hunter Henry. It'll be very interesting to see how they're used in packages and different things. And I think not only is that great for their passing game, but it's also very, very good for their run game. And disguising things, you could put those two guys in a set and make it look like you're going to pass the ball when you could be running it down the gut. And now there's bound to be more, isn't there? Who have I missed?
I think also Gesicki in Miami. Yeah. He could be someone that if Tua can find his feet, again, similar to Drew Lock, I think that it'll help everybody on offense, but it'll be interesting to see, Gesicki's role. He can obviously catch the ball. We've seen him score plenty of times, and he also was a good player in fantasy last season too. Maybe not a great player, but a solid player. But that's another one. But yeah, you touched on it. I am fascinated to see what Bill Belichick has in store by bringing those two guys, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, to the Patriots. And I think it'll be a very interesting and intriguing watch to see how they're played and the different formations, the different roles they have in that offense.
And you mentioned fantasy there, Zach. We on Saturday we'll be putting out a conversation that we're going to have with a guy from PFF, Pro Football Focus. His name is Andrew Erickson. He's a fantasy analyst for them over there. And we're looking forward to chatting with him about all things fantasy. So if you play fantasy football or are going to in 2021, I would pay attention to this because he is going to give us some amazing takes on different positions, different guys at different positions that he thinks, you should be picking. In your drafts and things, and he'll be giving us a bit of advice on that.
Yeah, I hope people in my fantasy league are listening because they need help.
Well, here we're gonna know the advice before everyone else. So
that's it.
Who knows? We mightn't even put it out. We might just hog it to ourselves.
That's an idea, Ross.
Because that's a great idea. It is an idea. It's a good idea. But no, we'll be sharing it with you on Saturday. So tune in for that. I hope you've enjoyed episode 6. Wow, we're fairly flying through these, aren't we, Zach?
Sure.
This is episode 6 now we've just done. So we'll see you for that on Saturday and on episode 7 on Tuesday next week, where we're going to be having another college player on. I'll not give any details away, but it'll be a great interview. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you on Saturday for our chat with Andrew.